The air inside Tesla's Palo Alto offices carried a certain buzz. Engineers huddled over prototypes, their voices blending with the faint whir of machinery. Among them was Liam, a man in his late 30s with a furrowed brow and a fading spark in his eyes. To the casual observer, he seemed like any other hard-working employee. But beneath the surface, Liam's world was on the brink of collapse. Liam wasn't one to complain. He wore his struggles like an invisible cloak, shielding his co-workers from the storm brewing at home. Rent notices piled up on his kitchen counter like a silent accusation, each one marked with bold red letters demanding payment. His wife's recent surgery had drained what little savings they had, leaving them scrambling to make ends meet. And now, the clock was ticking. Eviction loomed like a dark shadow, threatening to uproot their family. Yet every morning Liam showed up at work, a picture of quiet determination. His co-workers admired his precision and dedication, oblivious to the weight he carried. For Liam, each paycheck was a lifeline, a fragile thread keeping his family afloat. But no matter how hard he worked, it was never enough. This particular day started like any other. Liam sipped stale coffee from a paper cup, glancing over the day's tasks. He tried to focus, but his mind wandered to the overdue rent and the landlord's last warning. His heart raced as he thought about his daughter Mia, a bright-eyed 9-year-old who deserved none of this turmoil. He knew she sensed the tension, even if he tried to shield her from it. But what Liam didn't know was that a single moment was about to change everything. A moment that would test the limits of kindness and compassion and leave everyone in the room forever changed. Liam's life had always been a delicate balancing act, but lately it felt like the scales had tipped against him. The late nights at work, the missed family dinners, and the constant battle with mounting bills had become a cycle he couldn't break. His wife, Elena, was recovering from a complex surgery that left her unable to work. Her soft reassurances that things would get better were beginning to feel like hollow echoes in the small apartment they called home. The eviction notice on the fridge door was a constant reminder of their reality. Liam had taped it there as a motivator, a way to push himself to find a solution, yet every day it stared back, mocking his efforts. He'd already sold their second car, cut back on every unnecessary expense, and taken on extra hours whenever he could. Still, it wasn't enough to fill the ever-widening gap. Mia, his daughter, was the light of his life, but even her laughter had become tinged with worry. She had overheard too many whispered conversations between her parents late at night, their voices thick with stress. One evening, she had quietly handed Liam a small jar filled with coins. "For the bills," she said softly, her eyes wide and sincere. Liam's heart had shattered in that moment, but he managed to smile, tucking her into bed and promising her everything would be okay. The truth was, he didn't know if he could keep that promise. Every rejection email from potential side jobs felt like another door slamming shut. Even at work, where he excelled, the pressure to perform weighed heavily. Tesla was a fast-paced environment, and while Liam was respected for his meticulous attention to detail, he feared his personal struggles might start seeping into his professional life. But Liam was nothing if not resilient. He told himself every morning that he just needed one break, a chance to catch his breath and turn things around. The problem was, time wasn't on his side. The landlord had been clear. If the overdue rent wasn't paid by the end of the month, they would have to leave. The thought of uprooting Mia, of watching her lose the only home she'd ever known, kept Liam awake most nights. But sometimes, when life feels most unforgiving, the smallest acts of courage can set extraordinary events into motion. Little did Liam know that courage would soon come from an unexpected place, one that would redefine his understanding of hope. The following week brought a rare reprieve, a company-wide event celebrating Tesla's latest advancements. The atmosphere at the event was electric, filled with engineers, designers, and executives mingling in a spacious conference room lined with futuristic prototypes. It was a chance for everyone to step back from their grueling schedules and share in the collective pride of their achievements. Liam attended, more out of obligation than enthusiasm. He knew skipping the event might raise questions, and he didn't need any additional scrutiny right now. He wore his best shirt, a gift from Elena years ago, and tried to blend into the crowd, keeping his worry-laden thoughts at bay. Mia had accompanied him that day, a special allowance granted to employees with young children. She clutched his hand tightly as they walked through the bustling room, her wide eyes darting between the gleaming cars and the animated groups of adults. Her presence was a rare comfort to Liam, a reminder of why he was fighting so hard. Elon Musk arrived shortly after the event began, exuding his usual mix of charisma and unpredictability. As he took the stage to deliver a speech, the room fell silent. He spoke about innovation and resilience, encouraging his team to think beyond limitations. His words, though inspiring, felt distant to Liam, whose mind drifted to the eviction deadline just days away. After the speech, attendees were invited to mingle with Elon in an informal setting. Liam stayed on the outskirts of the gathering, watching Mia curiously explore the room. He didn't notice when she let go of his hand and made her way toward the CEO. "Excuse me, Mr. Musk." Mia's small voice cut through the chatter. The room grew quiet as heads turned toward the child standing before Elon Musk. Liam's stomach dropped when he realized what was happening. Elon crouched slightly to meet her eye level, a kind smile on his face. "Hi there. What's your name?" "I'm Mia," she said confidently. "My dad works really hard here, but we're about to lose our home. Can you help us?" The room froze. Conversation stopped mid-sentence, and all eyes were on the 9-year-old who had just voiced a plea that no one had expected. Liam felt his chest tighten, a mix of embarrassment and desperation flooding him. He started forward, but Elon held up a hand, signaling for him to stay. "Well, Mia," Elon said, his tone gentle but deliberate, "why don't you tell me a little more?" Mia hesitated, glancing back at her father for reassurance. Liam nodded subtly, his face a mixture of apology and pride. "My mom's been sick," she said, "and my dad is doing his best, but it's really hard right now." Elon's expression softened. He didn't look away, even as murmurs rippled through the room. The sincerity in Mia's voice had cut through the polished veneer of the event, grounding everyone in a moment of raw humanity. But it wasn't just Mia's courage that struck a chord. It was Elon's response, an act that would soon ripple far beyond that room. The room seemed to hold its breath as Elon straightened up, his gaze flickering momentarily to Liam before settling back on Mia. The energy shifted. It was no longer a corporate event. It was something deeply personal. "Your dad sounds like a good man," Elon said, his voice quiet but firm. "It takes a lot of strength to keep going when things are tough, and it takes even more courage for someone like you to speak up for him." Liam stood rooted in place, his face flushed with a mix of emotions. He couldn't decide if he wanted to pull Mia into a hug or apologize profusely to Elon for the unexpected interruption. But Elon didn't seem annoyed. If anything, he seemed thoughtful. "Wait here a moment," Elon said, stepping away from Mia and signaling to his assistant. A hushed conversation followed, their words too low for anyone else to hear. Elon nodded, then turned back toward Liam and Mia, his expression resolute. He walked directly to Liam, extending a hand. "You've got a brave daughter, and it sounds like you've been through a lot," Elon said. "Consider this a little help to get you back on your feet." Liam stared, uncomprehending, as Elon handed him a folded piece of paper. His fingers trembled as he opened it. A check for $50,000. Gasps rippled through the room, but Liam hardly noticed. His vision blurred as tears welled in his eyes. I don't know what to say," he stammered, his voice cracking. "Thank you doesn't feel like enough." "You don't have to say anything," Elon replied simply. "Just take care of your family. That's what matters most." Liam felt a surge of emotion that he couldn't contain. Gratitude, relief, and disbelief all collided at once. He bent down and pulled Mia into a tight hug, whispering a soft, "Thank you, baby," into her hair. She smiled up at him, her eyes shining with pride. As the crowd began to clap, some wiping away their own tears, Elon raised a hand to quiet them. "Sometimes, it's easy to forget that we're all human," he said, addressing the room. "Helping someone doesn't take away from us. It lifts us all. Let's remember that." But this wasn't just about Liam. What happened next would spark a wave of reflection and change across the company. For Liam, the moment felt surreal. As the applause filled the room, he stood holding the check like it might vanish if he blinked. His heart raced, not from anxiety but from the weight of what this gesture meant. It wasn't just the money, it was the validation, the reminder that someone saw his struggle and cared enough to intervene. Mia, still nestled in his embrace, looked up at him with wide, sparkling eyes. "Did we win, Dad?" she whispered, her innocent question piercing straight through him. He chuckled softly, brushing a tear from his cheek. "Yeah, sweetheart, we won." As the crowd began to disperse, Liam felt a hand on his shoulder. He turned to see his supervisor, Mark, a man known for his no-nonsense demeanor, standing there, his expression uncharacteristically warm. "Liam, I had no idea," Mark said. "If you ever need anything, you can come to me. Don't go through this alone next time, okay?" Liam nodded, unable to trust his voice. The shame he'd carried for so long began to lift, replaced by a strange new feeling. Hope. People he barely knew approached him, offering words of encouragement and promises to help in any way they could. It was overwhelming, but in the best possible way. Later that night, as Liam sat at the small kitchen table in his apartment, he unfolded the check again, staring at the numbers as though they might change. Elena sat across from him, her hand resting gently on his. "This changes everything," she said softly. "It does," Liam replied, his voice steady. "But it's not just the money, it's what it means. It's a reminder that no matter how hard things get, there's always someone willing to help. We're not alone." But the true impact of Elon's gesture wasn't limited to Liam's family. It sent ripples through the company, inspiring conversations that would lead to real change. Word of Elon's gesture spread quickly through Tesla's corridors. Employees who hadn't attended the event heard about it from colleagues, and soon the story became a topic of conversation in meetings, lunchrooms, and even online forums. It wasn't just about the money. It was about the unexpected humanity behind the action. For many, it sparked a deeper conversation about the challenges people face beyond their work. Engineers, supervisors, and even administrative staff began sharing their own struggles, stories that had previously been kept behind tightly sealed doors. Single parents balancing childcare with deadlines, employees dealing with medical bills, and those quietly supporting family members with disabilities, all began to feel a little less invisible. The HR department received an influx of suggestions. Employees proposed creating a hardship fund to assist colleagues facing unexpected financial crises. Others suggested mentorship programs, flexible work hours, and wellness initiatives that extended beyond the office. The story of Liam and Mia had ignited something powerful. The realization that a workplace could be more than just a place to earn a paycheck. It could be a community. Elon himself addressed the growing momentum during a company-wide email. In his characteristic straightforward style, he wrote, "We build cars that change the world. But what good is that if we don't care for the people building them? Let's make sure Tesla stands for innovation and compassion." The email hit home. Over the next few weeks, Tesla rolled out new initiatives aimed at supporting employees. The Hardship Fund became a reality, with voluntary contributions from staff and matching donations from the company. Mental health resources were expanded, and supervisors received training on recognizing signs of burnout or distress in their teams. For Liam, watching these changes unfold was humbling. He never intended to be at the center of such a movement, but seeing how his story inspired others filled him with a quiet pride. What had started as a single act of kindness had grown into something much bigger. A shift in culture, a reminder that even in a high-pressure environment, people could look out for one another. But the most profound impact wasn't in policies or programs. It was in the way people treated each other, with a renewed sense of empathy and understanding. And for Liam, that was worth more than any check. As Liam settled back into his routine, life began to feel lighter. The immediate burden of overdue bills was gone, and the constant gnawing fear of eviction had finally subsided. But it wasn't just about the financial relief. The experience had shifted something deeper within him, a renewed belief in the goodness of people. He started noticing changes in his interactions at work. Co-workers who had once exchanged polite nods now stopped to chat, asking how his family was doing or offering genuine words of encouragement. Even Mark, his supervisor, began checking in regularly, ensuring Liam wasn't juggling too much. The walls of isolation Liam had built around himself out of necessity were slowly crumbling, replaced by a sense of connection. At home, Mia was thriving. She carried herself with a new sense of pride, knowing her courage had made a difference. One evening, as she worked on a school project, she looked up at Liam and said, "Dad, do you think I'll ever do something that big again?" Liam smiled and knelt beside her. "Mia, what you did wasn't about being big or small. It was about speaking from your heart. If you keep doing that, you'll make a difference every day." Elena, too, seemed lighter. Her recovery was progressing well, and the family began making plans they hadn't dared to dream of before. Weekend outings, saving for Mia's college, even talking about someday owning a home. Possibilities that had once seemed out of reach now felt attainable. But Liam knew the biggest lesson wasn't about money or material comfort. It was about the courage to ask for help, the power of compassion, and the importance of community. He reflected on how close he had been to losing everything, and how one moment of kindness had turned it all around. It made him realize that everyone carries unseen struggles, and sometimes, even the smallest act of support can change a life. As months passed, Liam found himself paying the kindness forward. He volunteered for the new mentorship program at Tesla, sharing his story with younger employees who were just starting their careers. He also became an active contributor to the Hardship Fund, quietly offering his support to others facing tough times. For Liam, life had taken on a new meaning. It wasn't just about surviving anymore. It was about thriving and helping others do the same. But the most important lesson Liam carried was this: when we come together, no challenge is insurmountable. And for Mia, that simple truth became the foundation of her own dreams for the future. As Liam reflected on the journey his family had taken, he realized how profoundly a single moment of compassion could ripple through countless lives. It wasn't just about what Elon had done. It was about the reminder that even in a fast-paced, high-pressure world, empathy and kindness still mattered. Mia, now brimming with confidence, had started collecting her own small acts of kindness. From organizing charity drives at school to helping a new classmate feel welcome, she embodied the lessons her family had learned. Liam and Elena watched with pride as their daughter began shaping a future rooted in compassion and understanding. Back at Tesla, the changes sparked by Liam's story continued to evolve. The Hardship Fund, mentorship programs, and wellness initiatives had become a permanent part of the company culture. Employees worked not just for innovation but for each other, creating a stronger and more unified team. As Liam tucked Mia into bed one night, she asked him a question that lingered in his mind. "Dad, do you think Mr. Musk knows how much he helped us?" Liam thought for a moment before answering. "I think he does, sweetheart. But what's more important is that we remember what he taught us, that we should always help others when we can." The experience left Liam with a renewed sense of purpose. He didn't just want to live for his family. He wanted to be a force for good, just as Elon had been for him. It was a lesson he carried with him every day, and one he hoped others would carry too. To anyone listening to this story, the message is clear. You never know the difference a single act of kindness can make. It might seem small, but to someone in need, it can mean everything. So, let this be a reminder. Be kind. Be courageous. And if you're ever in a position to help someone, don't hesitate. You might just change their life, and yours, forever. If you found this story inspiring, make sure to like, share, and subscribe to the channel. Together, we can keep spreading stories that remind us of the power of compassion. Thank you for watching.